Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast and a game between Slayers MMA versus Evil Geniuses Puma here on GSL Metropolis. MMA spawning as the red Terran player over here at the 3 o'clock position. Meanwhile, over here at the 6 o'clock position, we do have Puma. This is going to be a Terran versus Terran matchup, and I know a lot of you guys are not very familiar with this map. I personally never played a game on this map, but it is one of those maps that have been part of the GSL rotation for quite some time, and I'm sure both of these players do practice on these maps pretty consistently, so no real advantage to any one particular player, I don't believe, from one player to another. Now, we'll see what's going to go down in this matchup. You see Puma now setting up a front door supply depot. Same thing with MMA. And I'm really curious as to how these two particular players are now approaching Terran versus Terran. The last time I really saw a lot of Terran versus Terran matches just back to back was when I was in MLG Anaheim over 9 months ago now, where it was really the invitation to just go mass Blue Flame Hellions. And then, perhaps a little bit of bio play a little bit later on. You now know that Blue Flame Hellions are not nearly as powerful just because of the nerf. Hellions still effective against some Zerglings, but not really effective at raiding mineral lines any longer. Both players opening up with that standard 12 racks followed by a 13 gas. It looks as though, yes, MMA and Puma scouting out with their 14th SCV. And with their 14th SCV on the way, we'll see what exactly will go out or go down in this series. SCVs will pass by each other just perfectly, and it looks like MMA and Puma pretty much know where the other player already is. MMA may be able to set up a supply depot in time and get the block off. Meanwhile, Puma is not going to be able to do exactly that, and this is going to be really bad news. MMA getting a lot of scouting information. Meanwhile, Puma just has to stand and wait and figure out what is going on inside the space. Not so good, as now MMA finally escapes away. Let's take a look at the SCV. The SCV did scout the gas, and he pretty much knows everything he needs to know. SCV is simply retreating, and we'll see what the next building will be. Most likely will be a factory, and yes, MMA already establishing a factory. Meanwhile, Puma may be going into a Reaper expand. We'll see if that is going to be it. Yes, it is going to be a Reaper expand. He is still harvesting gas though, so I'm not exactly sure what he wants to transition into from this Reaper expand, as some SCVs are battling it out. And oh yes, the one lone SCV now able to escape away as a Marine from Puma came over. I like that play by Puma, bringing over the SCV to deactivate the Zelnaga tower. One site was gone, a Marine was brought over. And once the Marine was brought over, the SCVs were trying to battle it out a little bit of micro. Once the Marine showed up, though, that SCV knew that it could not stay there for very much longer. Reaper now continuing to make its way out. We'll see how this is going to work. I'm curious as to actually if this is traversable high ground. It is possible that this is actually not traversable high ground, as there is some doodads up here sitting on the top that are not destructible. Same thing with this. This is probably not traversable high ground, as well as the Reaper going around the far side to see if an expansion is coming in. 2 Marines now already down. Command center coming in here for Puma, and it looks as though, yes, double racks now being set up, so Puma trying to catch up in terms of production. Meanwhile, we see the 1-1-1 build, and it is going to be cloaked Banshees by MMA. MMA going for those cloaked Banshees, may get in a lot of damage. The Reaper now just dancing around back and forth. The Marines are going to be getting over here in time. Puma is going to have a really, really bad day as the Marine's going to finish it off. The Reaper, oh, down to 2 hit points, able to barely escape. Now, let's take a look at what's going on here. You see a couple Marines ready. Cloaking is now being added, the cloaking field. I don't see an engineering bay, but we are, yes, engineering bay now going in at the 6-minute mark. The timing is going to be almost perfect for those missile turrets to be set up. Reactors now being built as well. A lot of Marines are going to be added, but is there enough Marines to push off this initial harassment of Banshees is going to be the question. Combat shield is up, and I love that research by Puma first. Getting combat shields so that Marines take 3 shots in order to be destroyed. 50% more shots from a Banshee. Now looking at the front door though, you see a group of Marines and now an SCV engaging off over here. Where are these Marines going? The Marines now looking to finish off a missile turret. Yes, one missile turret will be completed in time. Is the Banshee going to try to come in as the missile turret is completed? Yes, it is, and that's really bad news as one round of attack from those longbow missiles able to push it back. The Banshee now knows that it cannot engage over there. The Marines hugging around the far side, hoping to perhaps get some damage. The cloaking field has been completed. The timing, most likely Puma knows about this as the cloaking field now coming on. And here we go, the Marines trying to engage. But here we have that dance of Banshees versus Marines. The dance, however, not in favor, as Puma does have that combat shield, allowing those units to stay alive just a little bit longer. SCV now walking in as well. One Marine may get taken out. Yes, one Marine is down. The Banshee now down to 26 energy, 25 energy. Will it do enough damage is the question. The Marines now trying to make their way in, and yes, the Banshee does go down. Let's take a look at the losses. 250 versus 250 as a new Banshee now being brought over. Worker kill count 1-0. And we are going to see a fresh Banshee try to pick up where the previous one did leave off. And here we go. The Banshee is in play. Going to take down an SCV. Nope. Unable to get to the SCV as one Marine taking a little bit more damage than it would like. But here we go. Nope. Not enough damage dealt once more. The Banshee down to 32 hit points though, as Stim is just about to complete for Puma. There is a reactor being established down. There is a starport down over here as well. Is enough damage going to be had? It looks like the Marines, yes, finish off that Banshee. And let's take a look at the total resources lost. 500 versus 300 as more Marines now look to establish one Zelnaga tower in the center. There's a Banshee in play. The Banshee may get off some free kills. Nope, it looks as though the Banshee needs to back away. The Marines do have Stim. We're able to catch up to that Banshee just a little bit, getting in even more damage. But we see MMA now trying to crank up his production. Harvester count 38 to 37. Things are fairly even at this stage in the game. There is one Banshee in the air. The Banshee is now out of energy though, so that's going to be bad news as the Banshee will be unable to really do anything. Doesn't want to go toe to toe with all of those units, and now just decides to back off. Now, we'll see what these players want to transition into. MMA didn't get that much harassment in, and Puma, however, didn't really catapult himself ahead in the game so far. 78 versus 78, we are dead even. It is 43 harvesters compared to 40. And so far, all we see are both players now just trying to sit inside their base and really try to macro up. There's Marines only coming in from Puma. Meanwhile, it's just Marines and Banshees coming in from MMA. The Banshee is now being repaired. We are double training up medevacs. A quick swap around as MMA perhaps looking to do a drop. And that is going to be the next course of action. Who's going to be able to deal more damage, perhaps in drops or in a front door attack. Siege tanks have not yet been added. You can see siege tanks, the first one on each side, now being trained. No siege tech now just being started, as MMA now getting slightly ahead with the research. He is now starting the 2-1 research. Meanwhile, only 1-0 upgrades on the Marines. And with only 1-0 upgrades on those Marines, it's going to be interesting to see what those Marines are going to do, especially against 1-0, soon to be 2-1 Marines. The Banshee now playing a game of chicken in the center of this map here, trying to be very, very careful. Now the Banshee is out of energy, is destroyed, and now more Marines are... It looks like another Marine was taken down here as well. Puma with a small Marine advantage, I believe. Yes, a small Marine advantage, and also a slightly more medevacs. We'll see how much damage will be added, as we also see a new orbital command will be lifting off and landing in just a moment. We'll see the siege tank should be able to siege up. Actually, no, yeah, siege tanks now need another 15 seconds or so, as we now have a drop down over here. The command center is upgrading to an orbital command, but the medevacs know that they cannot stick around far too long. Marines and siege tanks now coming back over, and Puma, being a little bit of the aggressor, has a slight Marine advantage, and we'll see if he's able to translate that into anything. The attacker in StarCraft 2 normally needs to do a little bit more work. There is a defender's advantage since you are walking within range. There is one Marine sitting at, or there was one Marine sitting at over here, and we'll see how this is all going to work. Missile turret now being placed down as well. The destructible rocks have yet to be destroyed, so it's going to be a little bit more tricky to try and destroy these destructible rocks and transfer some SCVs over. You can now see siege tanks, Marines are going to battle it up and engage, and here we go, siege tanks and Marines, and it looks like Puma actually took took a lot more damage than he would have liked in that engagement there. Siege tanks, Marines, MMA now with a slight advantage here. All these Marines need to do is clean up this expansion, and that would be a huge victory, as we now see Marines now finally making their way down. There are Vikings in position to hold the air, make sure that the medevacs are not able to give sight. But here we go. We now see Marines now walking around the far side of the map. And now we see Puma in a little bit of a sticky situation as the Marines able to finish off many of those Marines there. And that was not a good pressure at all. All of these siege tanks now need to back off. There's a 10 food advantage for MMA, as MMA also has a slight harvester advantage. There are Marines in multiple locations in order to try to clean up any drops that may try to push in. Siege tanks now are going to siege, and it looks as though, yes, those siege tanks have backed off just in time. One medevac off over here. We're going to see perhaps the siege tanks, the sensor tower in position, revealing where exactly this group of Marines and medevacs are. We are in a bit of a Mexican standoff in the beginning. Whoever attacks first, whenever one side attacks, the other side would also take a lot of losses, as well as the siege tanks now trying to make their way over. The medevac smartly or wisely makes its way up to the high ground, as we now see more and more medevacs being added to this group. Siege tanks and Marines getting in position. There are 5 siege tanks and only 5 siege tanks here, and this is a bit of an exchange, as we now see a large group of Marines trying to battle it out. Siege tanks are in position, but no, one siege tank does get taken down. There is only one medevac on one side though, but Puma not with enough Marines, and this is looking really bad. And Slayers MMA now with a significant advantage in terms of food, as the Marines, they may try to do some sort of drop, but there are Vikings overhead, so Puma should be able to clean up those medevacs well before they get within combat range. Level 3 weapons upgrade, level 2 armor against level 2, level 1, level 2 weapons level 1 weapons upgrade already completed by MMA, and here we go. Here is the flank. Puma is now going to lose all of these siege tanks and be very much out of position, even losing some Marines that were trying to reinforce. The siege tanks now looking to position themselves on the ramp, and if they can get themselves in the right position, perhaps destroy some siege tanks back. Level 1 weapons upgrade has yet to be completed, and that means that the siege tanks need, I believe, 4 shots to destroy if they are from Puma's side. Meanwhile, MMA only needs 3 shots to really finish it off, as we now see the units coming in more from the top. Marines are in position now. Siege tanks are ready to go. Here we go. Marines now unable to battle it back out, as we are in a little bit of an overlap here, but it looks like MMA, yes, does get a scanner sweep off, but Puma loses that siege tank first, as the Marines and now the siege tanks clean up more and more units. MMA still flooding in units from across the map. Siege tanks are still not upgraded. Meanwhile, the siege tanks of MMA going to be 2-0 compared to 1 or 0-0 for a short time. Siege tanks, but MMA trying to push in. He may be overexposing himself. No, doing a nice, good flank from the far side as well. There are still siege tanks up on the top side, and MMA has broken through the front door. It looks as though this is going to be GG, as the Marines are now simply flooding in. Siege tanks, SCVs battling it out. The Marines unable to get over, now trying to finish it off, but I think MMA will receive the victory and game 1 in this series. So Puma losing game 1. There was even an attempted drop on the high side here. And let's take a look at the worker kill count. 25 workers. These Marines unable to do anything at all, as the SCVs were all saved. So really well played. And it really all came down to one bad push off over here. Puma pushed out just as MMA pushed out. MMA sieged his tanks first, had his Marines in better position, was able to start the tipping point, and then take the victory. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.